Chapter 11. Lael, you are listening at novelfull.audio. For a dog, the tongue is crucial. Without a tongue, it cannot chew or rely on its sense of smell to distinguish food. Even drinking water becomes challenging. To what extent must a person be corrupted to commit such inhumane acts? Xia Xian pondered. Suppressing her intense emotions, Xia Xian watched as the dog finished eating. She reached out and gently touched the dog's head, using the beast language system to communicate, "I have to go to work now. You can rest here or wander around nearby. When I finish work, I'll take you to the vet for a check-up." In the dog's mind, there was no concept of work or the vet, so it could not fully understand what Xia Xian was saying. But it knew that Xia Xian had no ill intentions. She brought it into a cool and spacious place, and she provided food. In the dog's world, Xia Xian was the best human. The dog happily wagged its partially bald tail, making strange sounds from its mouth. Xia Xian guessed that if it had a tongue, it would probably emit cheerful barking sounds. Tang Hai squatted next to Xia Xian, observing the tongueless dog, and sighed, "In this world, there are always scumbags who derive pleasure from the suffering of animals." Tang Hai wanted to reach out and pat the dog's head, but as soon as he approached, the dog's eyes revealed a look of fear. It quickly moved closer to Xia Xian's side, trembling slightly. Xia Xian hurriedly comforted the dog and smiled apologetically at Tang Hai. "It has been mistreated by humans, so it's naturally scared of people." Tang Hai did not mind, but he found it peculiar and asked, "But why isn't it afraid of you? It's strange. Not only do Pippi and Dodo adore you, even this dog that has been hurt by humans likes you. Xian, your charm is irresistible even to animals." As Tang Hai said the last sentence, he looked at Xia Xian with a gaze that revealed a hint of unusual ardor. Xia Xian suddenly felt a bit embarrassed. "Mr. Tang, I have to go to work now. Thank you for your help today." Tang Hai watched Xia Xian hastily leave and sighed, regretting that he had let his feelings slip out. He thought, "I hope I didn't scare Xia Xian." Tang Hai was 28 years old, single, and Xia Xian was currently in the most beautiful and youthful stage of her life. Tang Hai believed that it was normal for him to develop feelings for Xia Xian. He had initially planned to gradually get to know Xia Xian better during work and see if they could develop a relationship. But now, it seemed like he had rushed things. However, there was nothing Tang Hai could do. After all, it was difficult to hide one's feelings, and love would always find a way to reveal itself through one's gaze. He smiled helplessly. In the afternoon, the number of visitors to the zoo showed no signs of decreasing, and they seemed even more excited than yesterday. When Pippi and Dodo appeared, the visitors shouted loudly. When Xia Xian appeared, the visitors treated her like a fan, displaying great enthusiasm. Xia Xian was somewhat overwhelmed by the enthusiasm of the visitors and had some concerns. The noise created by the visitors was clearly affecting Pippi and Dodo negatively. Both pandas were becoming restless and irritable. If it were not for Xia Xian patiently calming them down, their moods today would have been far from good. As for Bao, it was even more unfortunate. It usually preferred to lie in the hidden corner below the railing, and visitors generally did not pay attention to it. Bao's reaction to the outside world was usually slow. However, due to the large number of visitors and the loud noise today, Bao began to show signs of panic and fear. Xia Xian noticed that something was off with Bao and quickly carried it back to the inner court of the panda exhibit. Xia Xian wanted to ask the visitors to be quieter, but she was afraid of being criticized by netizens if she did so. After all, the visitors had paid to see the pandas, and their attitude was so enthusiastic. If the zoo staff members showed any dissatisfaction, it might anger the visitors. Finally, Xia Xian endured until the end of her shift and let out a long sigh of relief. She hurriedly walked to the end of the corridor on the first floor and saw the white dog leaning against the wall, lying on the ground, seemingly asleep. However, as soon as the dog heard Xia Xian's footsteps, it immediately opened its eyes, stood up, and staggered toward her, circling around her feet while wagging its tail happily. A smile formed at the corner of Xia Xian's mouth. "From now on, you'll live with me. Let me give you a name. How about Lael?" Chapter 12. Husky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xia Xian believed that the dog must have gone through many unpleasant experiences before meeting her. She only hoped that from now on, it would be happy every day. When the dog heard its new name, its eyes brightened, as if it was happy to have a name. Xia Xian originally planned to take Lael to the veterinary hospital for a check-up, but her colleagues informed her that there was only one large veterinary hospital nearby, and it was usually crowded. If she went after work, considering the waiting time for appointments, she might not be able to return home until late at night. After some consideration, Xia Xian decided to take Lael to the veterinary hospital during her days off. As for today, she would bring Lael to a bath. There were quite a few pet shops nearby. Xia Xian found a pet shop with good online reviews. When she arrived, the staff inside were busy cleaning and grooming several pets. Compared to those noble breeds with smooth fur and beautiful appearances, Lael, whom Xia Xian had just picked up today, looked like a dirty bundle. After entering the pet shop, Xia Xian could sense that Lael was very uneasy. Lael kept its head lowered, afraid to look at the other pets. It did not even dare to rub Xia Xian's pants anymore, as if it feared that Xia Xian would discover it was the ugliest dog in the shop and abandon it once again. Xia Xian rubbed Lael's head, unsure how to comfort it. She thought perhaps only time could heal Lael's inner insecurities and anxieties, letting it know that it was also worthy of love. The pet shop staff also noticed that Lael was a stray dog, but they did not show any disgust. On the contrary, they asked about Lael's condition with concern. After learning about Lael's tongue issue, the staff were filled with anger. Most people who work in pet shops are animal lovers, otherwise, they would not have the patience to clean and care for small animals. They condemn those who harm animals more than ordinary people. Perhaps due to sympathy for Lael's ordeal, one staff member pointed to a room inside and said, "Ms. Xia, please wait in there for a moment. That's the VIP grooming room. We have some medicine inside, so after the bath, we can apply some ointment to your dog's wounds." Xia Xian nodded and went to the VIP grooming room with Lael. The VIP grooming room was slightly larger than the regular grooming room. There were beautiful potted plants on the windowsill, and a curtain at the entrance provided better privacy and soundproofing. It did not take long before it gradually quieted down outside. It was already past 8 o'clock, and the busiest period for the pet shop had passed. Xia Xian patiently waited when suddenly, after the pet shop door was pushed open, continuous barking filled the air with dissatisfaction and anger. It seemed like a dog with a big temper had arrived. As Xia Xian was thinking that, the curtain was suddenly lifted, and a man wearing a black sports suit and a hood walked in, accompanied by a staff member. The man held a leash, and an extremely handsome husky was desperately trying to break free, its entire body exuding resistance and discontent while barking. Xia Xian could understand perfectly what the husky was saying. At the entrance, the husky was saying, "Two-legged creature, you've deceived me into this hellish place again. If I trust you again, then I'm a dog." At that moment, Xia Xian thought, "But you already are a dog." Seeing that it was a husky, Xia Xian was no longer surprised. After all, everyone knows about huskies' intelligence. Now, the husky was saying, "I don't want a bath. You wretched two-legged creature. I lick my paws every day, and they're cleaner than your face. I want to go home." The man in the black casual sportswear seemed accustomed to his pet's behavior. He skillfully lifted the husky and placed it directly into the grooming tub next to Xia Xian. He then held the husky's head firmly, picked up a nearby basin of water, and splashed it onto the husky's body. His actions were swift, rough, and practiced. Xia Xian stared in disbelief, and the husky also widened its eyes in terror, showing a look of despair as if saying, "I'm dirty now." The man turned and looked at the pet shop staff. He said, "He's ready for a bath now." The pet shop staff, who had been watching the scene from the side, seemed to be accustomed to it. Xia Xian even suspected that the basin of water had been specially prepared for the man. The husky's resistance significantly diminished after getting soaked. Two pet shop staff worked together and were able to fully put the husky under control. As the man in the black casual sportswear turned around, Xia Xian finally noticed his exquisitely chiseled jaw, and she was momentarily stunned. Chapter 13. Shut up, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Jing Yamo. How could it be him? The man who just had a battle of wits with the husky, was it Jing Yamo? Xia Xian pondered. Jing Yamo also noticed Xia Xian, and there seemed to be a hint of fluctuation in his eyes, but it quickly returned to calm. Xia Xian was not sure if he remembered her. Well, it's better if he doesn't remember. That day at the hospital, I must have left an impression on everyone as an overindulged child. Xia Xian thought. Xia Xian shifted her gaze, pretending not to recognize Jing Yamo. After all, she was not a fan of Jing Yamo, so there was no need to rush forward for autographs or photos. Ms. Xia, because this gentleman had made an earlier appointment, you may need to wait a while longer. The pet shop staff who was grooming the husky looked at Xia Xian and explained. It's okay, I'm not in a hurry, Xia Xian said and smiled gently. Then, the pet shop staff explained to Jing Yamo, I'm sorry, we thought you would bring Bobo after 9, so we let Ms. Xia enter the grooming room to wait. We didn't expect you to come so early. Jing Yamo nodded slightly, showing no signs of being bothered, and his voice was low and hoarse as he said, it's all right. Xia Xian looked at the husky, who was still struggling restlessly in the pool. She thought, so this husky was named Bobo. Bobo also noticed the presence of another dog in the room, looking towards Leo with surprise, and said disdainfully, why is this dog so dirty and ugly? I don't want to be with such a dog. You despicable two-legged creatures, let me go. Bobo's struggles became even more intense. Leo, crouching beside Xia Xian, lowered its head even further, feeling at a loss and curling up into a small ball after hearing Bobo's grunt. After a while, Bobo was almost done with bathing. The remaining tasks were grooming and blow-drying, which could be handled by a single pet shop staff. Another pet shop staff approached Xia Xian and said, Ms. Xia, now we can proceed with grooming your dog. Let's go to the grooming station across. Xia Xian nodded and reminded the pet shop staff of the wounds on Leo's body. As the pet shop staff groomed Leo, it behaved very obediently, perhaps because Xia Xian was right beside it. It did not show any stress response to the pet shop staff's touch, and even when the wounds were accidentally touched, it did not make a sound despite the pain. The pet shop staff was amazed and remarked, Ms. Xia, your dog is really well behaved. I've groomed some stray animals before, and although some of them have low aggression, none of them were as docile as this one. It's truly reassuring. Xia Xian looked at Leo with gentle eyes and said, yes, Leo is the most well-behaved dog I've ever seen. Meanwhile, Bobo, who was being blow-dried by another pet shop staff, watched the two humans chatting and laughing about Leo, which, in its eyes, was extremely dirty and ugly. Even though Bobo could not understand human words, it could still sense from their expressions that they were praising the dirty and ugly Leo. Bobo felt deeply insulted. It thought, how could they not praise a noble and beautiful purebred husky like myself and instead compliment a mutt that seemingly crawled out of a garbage dump? Bobo became extremely agitated and started struggling again. It even raised its head and howled at Leo with anger. Leo sensed Bobo's anger, which was clearly directed at it, and its eyes showed fear and nervousness. It instinctively tried to crawl toward Xia Xian. Xia Xian understood what Bobo was howling about. It was saying, "You mutt, quickly go back to your garbage dump, or I'll bite your throat off later." Xia Xian furrowed her brows and almost could not resist using the beast language system to scold the impolite and ill-tempered husky. "Shut up." A chilling male voice rang out as Jing Mo walked up to Bobo and firmly held its snout, silencing its wild words. Perhaps because Jing Mo was Bobo's owner, although Bobo had a bad temper, it did not dare to truly provoke his anger. It simply cast an angry glance at Lael and did not continue to taunt and humiliate it. After Bobo finished blow-drying, Jing Mo led it out of the pet shop. Xia Xian glanced at Jing Mo's back for a couple of seconds before retracting her gaze. "Ms. Xia, didn't you recognize who that gentleman was?" The pet shop staff who was blow-drying Lael could not help but ask. Chapter 14. VIP card. You are listening at novelfull.audio. "I recognized him. He's Jing Mo." Xia Xian replied calmly. The pet shop staff smiled and said, "I knew it. Mr. Jing is so popular, and you should know him. But why did you react so calmly after seeing him? Most people would be shocked and excited when they meet a big star." "I remember the first time I saw Mr. Jing, I was dumbfounded and thought I was dreaming." Xia Xian did not know how to explain, so she awkwardly smiled and said, "I'm not a fan." After Lael finished blow-drying, the pet shop staff applied some medicine to its wounds. Just as Xia Xian was about to leave with Lael, the curtain of the grooming room was lifted, and another pet shop staff walked in and said to Xia Xian, "Ms. Xia, the owner of that husky asked me to apologize to you on his behalf." Xia Xian was taken aback. The pet shop staff then took out a delicately crafted VIP card and handed it to Xia Xian. "The gentleman just bought a 6-month VIP card and asked me to give it to you." Holding the VIP card, Xia Xian felt complicated. Although Jing Mo's dog lacked manners, she could not dislike Jing Mo himself. She could only sympathize with him for owning a dog that did not match his own temperament. Looking at the VIP card in the pet shop staff's hand, Xia Xian felt that Jing Mo did not need to compensate her. It was just a small matter, and she was not that petty of a person. Could it be that Jing Mo was afraid she would be dissatisfied with him and would post negative comments online, so he specially expressed his apologies? Xia Xian thought. In the end, Xia Xian accepted the VIP card. Since it was a gift, there was no harm in accepting it. She could not let Lael be bullied by that husky for nothing. Not far from the pet shop, a black minivan was parked by the roadside. The van door opened, and Sun Hu jumped out. Seeing Jing Mo walking over with the husky, Sun Hu hurriedly approached and said, "I called you several times, why didn't you answer? And you still have the mood to walk the dog." "It was on silent mode." Jing Mo answered matter-of-factly. Sun Hu fell silent and chose to give up discussing the matter further. He said, "Get in the car quickly. The gala is about to start, and it will take at least an hour to do your styling. There are several top executives from global major brands at the gala. Take the opportunity to learn some basic information about them and try to chat with them later." The current career plan for Jing Mo, set by his company, was to maintain his popularity and fame as a top domestic male celebrity while expanding into the international market. As Sun Hu continued talking non-stop, Jing Mo's face remained expressionless. He looked at Bobo, who seemed somewhat impatient by his feet, but his mind was filled with the slight frown of the girl at the pet shop. At that time, Bobo suddenly went crazy and yelled at the stray dog, causing the owner of the stray dog to frown. The faint anger made her exquisite features appear even more vibrant, like a thorny wild rose. Before leaving the pet shop with Bobo, Jing Mo had the pet shop staff issue a VIP card and asked them to give it to the girl who owned the stray dog. Jing Mo knew that this gesture was somewhat unnecessary. Jing Mo was not usually someone who liked getting involved in unnecessary matters, and he maintained a detached attitude toward everyone and everything. But for some reason, when he thought of the slight frown on that girl's face, he felt like he should do something. The pet shop staff called the girl Ms. Xia, and her parents called her Xian at the hospital. So, perhaps her name was Xia Xian. Jing Mo wondered. Bobo, seeing its owner seemingly looking at it but also seemingly not, wagged its tail in confusion. Did you even listen to what I said? Sun Hu asked, his voice became dry and hoarse. When he looked up, he saw Jing Mo staring at a dog, and he suddenly felt greatly humiliated. After returning home, Xia Xian found a large cardboard box and laid an old piece of clothing on it. It would be Lael's temporary bed. Lael happily climbed into the box and poked its head out, looking at Xia Xian with bright eyes. It no longer showed the unease and nervousness it had at the pet shop. Perhaps seeing that Xia Xian did not abandon it, Lael finally felt at ease. After freshening up and lying on the bed, Xia Xian opened a shopping app and made some purchases. She also had a video call with her parents, telling them that she had picked up a stray dog and planned to adopt it, naming it Lael. Chapter 15. A pay raise. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xia Xian's decision to adopt a stray dog did not surprise Gu Fan and Xia Song because Xia Xian had always loved animals since she was young. She would often go and feed the stray cats and dogs in the neighborhood. Due to old Mrs. Xia's poor health and mild asthma symptoms, the Xias could not keep pets. Now that Xia Xian lived alone, it was not a problem for her to have a dog. Gu Fan was quite happy and said with a smile, "You've always envied others who could have cats and dogs. Now you can have your own dog. Dogs are great. If there are bad people who want to harm you, the dog can protect you. Alright, let's talk more when Xian has her day off. She had a busy day, so let's not disturb her rest." Xia Song urged Gu Fan to hang up the phone. After the video call, Xia Xian prepared for bed. Before falling asleep, she saw that the data panel of the system had been updated after closing her eyes. Today, Xia Xian had accumulated 400 animal affinity points and her human affinity points had increased to 4,000. Xia Xian speculated that the reason her human affinity points had not decreased but instead increased might be due to the continued public opinion of her. More and more people had seen the videos of her interacting with the pandas and developed a favorable impression of her. After hesitating for a moment, Xia Xian tried to inquire with her consciousness, "Can I know where these 400 animal affinity points come from?" After 2 seconds of silence, a light screen panel popped up. Behind the photos of Pippi and Dodo, it showed plus 100, and behind the photo of Lael, it showed plus 300. Today, Xia Xian had taken care of Pippi and Dodo, soothing their emotions. The two pandas had become more familiar and reliant on her, so it was not surprising that their affinity points had increased. However, what Xia Xian did not expect was that Lael had instantly given her a 300-point increase, which was more than Pippi and Dodo combined. Perhaps it was because Lael genuinely liked me. Xia Xian thought as she looked at Lael, who was peacefully sleeping in the box, and a gentle smile formed on her lips. Xia Xian allocated all 400 affinity points to her stamina. Currently, her stamina has reached 71 points. After the stamina points were updated, Xia Xian clearly felt her tired body instantly becoming energized. It even gave her a feeling that she could do 100 push-ups right now. She adjusted to the changes in her body, regulated her breathing, and quickly fell asleep. The next day, when Xia Xian arrived at the zoo, she saw Lu Yuan standing at the entrance of the panda house, seemingly waiting for her. Xia Xian immediately called out, "Good morning, Mr. Lu." Before Xia Xian started working at the zoo, it was normal for her to call Lu Yuan Uncle Lu. Now that she had joined the team, their relationship had become that of superior and subordinate. Lu Yuan smiled and nodded. I didn't expect that you would become a star caretaker in our zoo just 2 days after joining. The number of visitors to the zoo has increased a lot these days, and it's all thanks to you. I have already spoken to the finance department, and you will receive a pay raise. Xia Xian was somewhat surprised, but of course, she would not refuse the boss giving her a raise. She felt happy inside but still honestly said, I just did what I should do. Lu Yuan was very satisfied with Xia Xian's attitude. Originally, he only brought Xia Xian in due to Xia Song's face, and he did not have any expectations for her. But to Lu Yuan's surprise, even Li Li praised Xia Xian for quickly adapting to the work environment. Both the pandas and the visitors really liked her. After seeing Lu Yuan off, Xia Xian cleaned the panda house and also had to tidy up the outdoor area. As she cleaned the outdoor area, the visitors had already entered the zoo, and there were crowds of people by the railings. While Xia Xian was sweeping the ground with a big broom, Pippi and Dodo saw her and immediately ran over to play with her. One hugged her leg, and the other sat on the broom. Eddie Xia Xian could not help but cry and laugh. She had to put down the broom, pick up Pippi, and place it on a nearby climbing frame, patting its large panda head to indicate that it should play by itself. Then she found a large bamboo basket and stuffed Dodo inside. Dodo did not like playing on the climbing frame, but enjoyed crawling into various cages and holes. A few days ago, Xia Xian saw a panda climbing into a bamboo basket in the next door enclosure, which gave her inspiration, so she immediately borrowed one. Sometimes the passive function of this beast language system is quite troublesome. These two pandas I'm raising were too clingy. As soon as I appeared, they would immediately stick to me like magnets to iron. Xia Xian complained in her heart. Chapter 16. Splashed Water. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After temporarily settling the two pandas, Xia Xian continued to clean the ground when she suddenly heard a commotion among the visitors. Xia Xian was taken aback and immediately realized that something must have happened. She hurriedly walked over. Ms. Caretaker, someone poured mineral water on that panda. As Xia Xian appeared, someone from the crowd immediately informed her loudly, pointing toward Bao's location. L.RG Xia Xian was shocked and quickly rushed toward Bao. When she reached Bao's side, Xia Xian was astonished to find that Bao's originally fluffy fur was now wet, like a black and white ball of yarn thrown into the water. There were 2 empty mineral water bottles on the ground. Bao was trembling, using its front paws to crawl towards a corner, as if trying to hide. Xia Xian could tell that it was very scared at the moment, as it did not even care about its old toy ball. Bao was not very popular among visitors, and many did not even know its name or pay much attention to it. Initially, only a few people noticed someone pouring water on Bao. By the time everyone noticed the situation, Bao was completely drenched. Xia Xian was filled with anger, but she did not have time to find out who did such a thing. She quickly walked towards Bao, picked it up while it was still trying to crawl into the corner, and tightly embraced it. As she wiped the water off Bao's body, she comforted it with the beast language system. It's okay, Bao. Don't be afraid. I'm sorry I arrived late, I'm sorry. Bao had physical disabilities, and it knew that it was not liked by people. It never played with the other 2 popular pandas and always stayed in a corner by itself. After being splashed with water by a visitor, it not only trembled in fear but also believed that it was being hated because of its disabilities. When Xia Xian picked it up, it did not even dare to move. Tears welled up in Xia Xian's eyes as she haphazardly wiped them away with her hand. She continued to hold Bao tightly and comforted it in a gentle voice. Under her soothing words, Bao's extreme reaction gradually subsided, and it began to calm down. Bao cautiously curled up in Xia Xian's arms, as if her embrace was the only safe place in the world. After learning about the situation, the zoo's security personnel rushed over but could not find the visitor who poured the water. Xia Xian held on to Bao until other zoo professionals arrived, and only then did she let go of Bao and hand it over to them. Bao is usually timid, and now it's been scared. I'm afraid it won't dare to go to the outdoor area anymore. Li sighed as she watched Bao being taken away. The more Xia Xian listened, the sadder she felt. Bao never ran around. It always quietly stayed in its little corner. Yet, even in this state, its small territory was invaded by some despicable person. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Xia Xian apologized. She felt that she was partly responsible for everything because she had not given Bao enough attention and failed to notice the visitor's actions in time. Li sighed, how can you blame yourself for this? Don't blame yourself. No one could have anticipated such a thing. Xia Xian remained silent, not saying a word. Now that the incident of Bao being splashed with water has probably spread online, I wonder what kind of impact it will have. Let Fu take care of your afternoon tasks. You should have some rest for now, said Li. Xia Xian looked up and asked, can I go and see Bao? Li shook her head and said, there will be a professional team providing psychological therapy for it. You don't need to worry too much. Xia Xian bit her lip and nodded. Li's speculation and concerns quickly became a reality. 2 hours later, the incident of Bao being splashed with water made it to the trending search rankings. Bao had never been popular before, and not many people even knew its name. However, this time, almost everyone who loved and paid attention to pandas learned about Bao. This is despicable. Pandas are our national treasures. How dare they do such a thing? Doesn't the zoo have surveillance cameras? Let's quickly find those people who poured the water. I want them to experience how Bao felt at that time. I never expected that our Bao would become popular because of this incident. I have been following Bao for a long time. Every time I go to the zoo, I visit it. It always sits alone in its little corner, playing with its toy ball. It's the cutest and most well-behaved panda in my heart. After watching the video of Bao being splashed with water, I actually cried. Yeah, Bao is already self-conscious. Would it think that it was splashed because of its disabilities? How sad it must have been at that time. Chapter 17. Explanation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What were the caretakers doing? Didn't they notice someone bullying the pandas? Is it okay to ignore a disabled panda? What does this have to do with the caretakers? Instead of blaming them, why don't you scold the people who poured water? Didn't you see the caretaker girl crying while holding Bao? If it weren't for her comforting Bao in time, Bao's condition would have been even worse. The arguments among netizens grew increasingly intense. Anger made everyone desperately seek an outlet. The comments section of the Capital Zoo's official account was quickly taken over by netizens. Some demanded that the zoo publicly reveal the identities of the visitors, while others accused the zoo of not providing sufficient care and attention to the disabled panda. After reading the news for a while, Xia Xian felt a growing headache and turned off her phone. In the end, the zoo did not disclose the identities of the visitors who poured water because it was illegal. The zoo could pursue the responsibility of those visitors privately, but if their identities were made public, they would undoubtedly face severe online harassment. The situation would only become worse. Netizens were very dissatisfied with the zoo's actions. They did not understand the situation, and from their perspective, the zoo had failed to take care of Bao and failed to punish the person who harmed Bao. After the incident, they saw no action from the zoo, as if it was playing dead. In an instant, the reputation of the zoo was affected, and there were even individual netizens calling for a boycott of the unscrupulous zoo. Before the end of the afternoon shift, Tang Hai informed Xia Xian that Lu Yuan wanted to see her. Xia Xian's heart trembled, feeling nervous. Is Mr. Lu going to hold me responsible? Although Xia Xian knew this possibility was small, she could not guess why Lu Yuan would want to meet with her. After entering Lu Yuan's office, Xia Xian saw his serious expression. The incident may not be Xia Xian's fault, but she felt that since the accident had happened, as a caretaker, she definitely had a certain degree of responsibility. Xia Xian stood in front of Lu Yuan's desk and said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Lu. I was wrong in this matter." Lu Yuan paused for a moment and smiled. Then he said, "I may be old, but I'm not senile yet. What does this have to do with you? I didn't come to criticize you. I wanted to ask if you could help me, and of course, help the zoo as well." Xia Xian suddenly raised her head, wondering how she could be of assistance. Seeing Xia Xian's puzzled expression, Lu Yuan explained, "Here's the thing. Now, the netizens think that our zoo is not taking responsibility. However, we can't publicly reveal the identities of those visitors. I think we need to find another way to appease the netizens' anger. Otherwise, the reputation of the zoo will be severely affected." Xia Xian listened quietly. "You were just on the trend search a few days ago, and netizens are quite familiar with you. You have a good image, and Pippi and Dodo like you. Netizens have a favorable impression of you. If you can come forward and explain the situation, perhaps the netizens will be willing to understand the difficulties our zoo is facing. Of course, this is just my personal suggestion. If you don't want to do it, I won't force you." After a 2-second silence, Xia Xian nodded and said, "Mr. Lu, I'm willing to explain the situation." Lu Yuan let out a long sigh of relief, and the wrinkles on his face relaxed a bit. He said, "Good. Set up a streaming account. After you publish the content, our zoo's official account will mention you. Now you can go back and think about what to say. Don't feel pressured. Say whatever you want to say." Lu Yuan did not ask Xia Xian to deliver an official statement. After all, such statements would not be effective. Currently, what was most important was for the zoo to have a spokesperson with a favorable image, to help calm the netizens' anger. After the conversation with Lu Yuan, Xia Xian returned home. When she pushed open the door, Lael wagged its tail and rushed over, then sat obediently on the ground, looking at Xia Xian with bright eyes. Xia Xian gently rubbed Lael's head and apologized, "Lael, is it boring at home alone? Wait a few days, the things I ordered will arrive, and then you'll have new toys." Xia Xian worked at the capital zoo, and it was not appropriate to bring her pet to the zoo every day, so she left Lael at home today. Xia Xian noticed that there was still a lot of leftover dog food in the bowl that she poured in before leaving in the morning and realized that Lael was not the kind of dog that ate without restraint. Xia Xian went to the kitchen and cooked some fresh chicken breast as an extra meal for Lael. Then she entered the bedroom, sat in front of the desk, and turned on the camera on her phone. She hesitated about how to explain to the netizens. After thinking for a long time, Xia Xian took a deep breath and pressed the record button. Chapter 18. Video. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xia Xian, who rarely faced the camera, felt nervous but managed to maintain her composure. She looked into the camera with sincere and clear eyes. First, Xia Xian explained that the zoo was currently providing psychological counseling for Bao, reassuring the netizens not to worry too much about Bao's condition. Then, she indirectly mentioned the difficulties the zoo was facing, hoping that the netizens could understand the zoo's actions. Be calm. After finishing recording the video, Xia Xian sent it to Lu Yuan, and he quickly replied. Seeing that there were no issues on Lu Yuan's end, Xia Xian posted the video on her own account. After publishing the video, Xia Xian did not pay attention to the views and comments. Instead, she made a video call to her parents. After a brief conversation, Xia Xian suddenly felt that something was off between her parents. In the past, when Xia Xian video called her parents, they would always gather together to talk to her. But today, Gu Fan and Xia Song were sitting far apart, like two magnets repelling each other. Xia Xian immediately understood that it must be about the compensation money issue. In Xia Xian's previous life, Gu Fan and Xia Song's accidental death led to all the compensation money falling into Xia Song's younger brother, Xia Bai's hands. Xia Xian's grandmother had always favored males and resented Xia Xian, blaming her for Xia Song's death. She did not even allow Xia Xian to enter their home. In this life, Xia Xian's parents were safe and sound, but the compensation money had still not been distributed. "Mom, Dad, did you visit Grandma?" Xia Xian asked. She did not directly ask about the compensation money. Xia Song nodded and said, "Yes, your grandmother's health has improved a lot. It's our day off this week, so let's go to your grandmother's house for a meal." Hearing Xia Song's words, Gu Fan frowned and sneered, "I dare not go to your brother's house. If they think I'm going there to snatch their property certificate, they'll kick me and Xian out directly." Why would you say these things in front of the child?" Xia Song, feeling nervous, interrupted Gu Fan. "Dad, what property certificate? What's happening with the property certificate?" Xia Xian actually already had an idea, but to confirm, she still asked. Seeing that Xia Xian had sensed something was wrong, Gu Fan no longer bothered to hide it and said straightforwardly, "Today, when your dad and your grandmother talked on the phone, I overheard that your grandmother had already given the property certificate to your uncle and aunt. Your dad didn't even plan to tell me about this. It really makes me furious." Xia Song opened his mouth, looking embarrassed, and said, "I wasn't planning to keep it from you. I didn't tell you because I thought you would overreact and go directly to confront Xia Bai. What if you end up fighting?" Xia Xian understood immediately, so, that was the case. Uncle Bai and his wife were unbelievable. They managed to deceive Grandma and obtain the property certificate. Actually, Xia Xian did not attach much importance to that compensation money. Although their family was not wealthy, they were not lacking in money either. It was normal for her grandmother to want to distribute the compensation money to her uncle. But not attaching much importance to the money did not mean that Xia Xian would not handle the matter. Gu Fan had worked hard to take care of old Mrs. Xia all these years. When old Mrs. Xia was in the hospital, Gu Fan went to deliver meals and help with personal hygiene while juggling work. She treated old Mrs. Xia as if she were her own mother. But Xia Bai and his wife had not done anything useful. To avoid taking care of old Mrs. Xia, they made excuses to leave the city and did not even make a phone call to old Mrs. Xia. Worse, they did not even pay a single cent for the hospital bills and medicine expenses. Xia Xian knew she had to handle this matter well to avoid potential trouble in the future. After comforting Gu Fan for a few moments and promising that the whole family would visit Xia Bai's house this week, Xia Xian hung up the phone. The next day, after waking up and hurriedly getting ready, Xia Xian arrived at the zoo. After completing her cleaning duties, she suddenly remembered that she had posted a video the day before. She tidied up her cleaning tools, took out her phone, and opened the streaming app. When Xia Xian opened the app, Xia Xian was startled. The background of her app usually had no likes, comments, or notifications about people following her. But at this moment, all three of those notifications showed 999 plus. Although Xia Xian had prepared herself mentally, when Xia Xian saw that her video had already received over 1.2 million likes and 500,000 shares, it still felt unreal, as if she was dreaming. She clicked on the comments section, and the first comments displayed were a few highly liked ones. "Wow, the caretaker girl posted a video. I knew you conspiracy theorists were maliciously speculating. Do you really think the zoo doesn't know how to take care of pandas?" Chapter 19. Mockery. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sorry, I've been focusing on the wrong thing. The lady caretaker is so gentle and beautiful. No wonder Pippi and Dodo like her so much. Let's all understand the difficulties faced by the zoo. They obviously can't release the surveillance footage. As for Bao's situation, I believe the zoo will give us an explanation. After watching the video Xia Xian posted, most netizens expressed their understanding of the zoo's challenges. However, there was a small group of people who questioned Xia Xian's video, claiming it was just a publicity stunt. These mocking comments were quickly rebutted by other netizens. So what if it's a publicity stunt? We love watching beautiful women. Are you jealous of her? The lady caretaker came forward on behalf of the zoo to explain and make a statement. Do you live by the seaside? Why do you care so much? Xia Xian turned off her phone and breathed a sigh of relief. She was about to take some food to feed Pippi and Dodo in the outdoor area when two researchers in white lab coats walked by in the corridor. Well, if it isn't our popular star from the panda exhibit. Looks like you're about to become an internet celebrity and then enter the entertainment industry, right? One of them, a woman with wavy curly hair, said with a hint of mockery. Wenya, keep your voice down, the person beside said as she pulled Wenya's sleeve. Wenya snorted and cast a disdainful glance at Xia Xian, then walked past her with her head held high. Xia Xian heard Wenya say behind her, she got in through connections anyway. Do you really think she's a caring and kind caretaker? She just wants to ride on the popularity of Pippi and Dodo to become an internet celebrity. Xia Xian furrowed her brow, completely unaware that some people saw her that way. If it had been the Xia Xian from her previous life, she probably would have confronted Wenya and had a heated argument. But now, Xia Xian simply shook her head without any trace of anger. After packing up her things, Xia Xian walked to the outdoor area and saw that the number of visitors today had not decreased significantly. It seemed that the video she explained yesterday had made an impact, and netizens had stopped their impulsive boycott of the zoo. After lunchtime, Xia Xian was called to the director's office again. Xian, thank you for explaining things yesterday. The voices questioning our zoo online have decreased a lot thanks to you, Lu Yuan said, his wrinkles relaxing as he finished speaking. Lu Yuan took a sip of tea and added, I didn't expect your account to already have 170,000 followers. Xia Xian was surprised. The number of followers she saw in the morning was only 110,000. In just a short while, she gained so many more followers. Lu Yuan suggested that Xia Xian continue to operate her personal account. You young people should know more about social media. You can post your daily life in the zoo or share some interesting animal facts. It's all possible. Also, this account is completely yours. If you gain more followers in the future and advertisers approach you for endorsements, you can earn income from it. Don't worry, I won't interfere with that, said Lu Yuan. Xia Xian had never thought about handling a social media account before, but Lu Yuan's words made sense to her. Perhaps this account could be used to do something useful. In Lu Yuan's view, Xia Xian managing this account was equivalent to promoting the zoo, so he encouraged and supported her. After a few more busy days, it finally came to Xia Xian's day off. She quickly tidied up her things in the rental house, preparing to take Leo back home. Sensing that they were going out, Leo looked excited and bounced around on the floor. Xia Xian packed some dog food into her backpack and also put the water dispenser from the water filter in there. She had made the water dispenser herself, with a small steel ball at the tip to help Leo drink water easily without a tongue. Looking around, Xia Xian contemplated what else she needed to bring. At that moment, she had a thought and awakened the system in her mind. A light screen appeared in her consciousness, and she checked her current account balance. Animal affinity. 200 points, human affinity. 170,000 points. Previously, Xia Xian had sighed about not being able to afford anything in the store, but now she actually had room to choose. Apart from a few very expensive items, she could buy most of the mid-range and low-end goods. All of that was thanks to Xia Xian's video, which received attention and love from a large number of netizens. Xia Xian wondered if she should buy something from the shop. Chapter 20. Beast Mastery. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xia Xian thought for a moment and looked at Lael, who was waiting obediently by her feet. She took the initiative to ask the system, I want to ask, is there a way to let Lael's tongue grow back? Xia Xian thought the system's functions were so amazing, perhaps it could help Lael. After asking, Xia Xian eagerly waited for a response. 2 seconds later, an emotionless mechanical voice sounded, not at the moment. Xia Xian caught the key point and asked, not at the moment. When will it be possible? After I'm upgraded, the mechanical voice replied. Xia Xian was taken aback, when will you upgrade? When your beast mastery reaches. The beast language system seemed to be evaluating, pausing for a moment, level 3. Through the conversation, Xia Xian obtained 2 important pieces of information. First, the system could be upgraded, and second, the system upgrade was linked to her beast mastery. Xia Xian had not paid much attention to the beast mastery before. In her opinion, as a human who could understand animal language, that was already a strong ability, and there was no need to learn beast mastery. But now it seemed that learning beast mastery not only had literal benefits but also upgrading her beast mastery could lead to system upgrades, which might bring her more advantages in the future. Although Xia Xian was already satisfied with the fact that she was reborn and did not expect to gain so many benefits from the beast language system, now she had to make efforts to help Lael become a normal dog. Determined, Xia Xian asked again, how can this beast mastery be upgraded? Does it require accumulating animal affinity? Are there any benchmarks? The conditions for each level upgrade are different. To go from level 1 to level 2, you need to collect 500 affinities from 49 different animals. Xia Xian did not expect the requirements to be 49 different animals. Such a requirement might not be easy to achieve elsewhere, but since she was currently working at the zoo, with some effort, it should not be too difficult. With a goal in mind, Xia Xian felt less confused. She politely thanked the beast language system and left the rental house with Lael. After arriving home, Xia Xian was greeted by an excited embrace from Gu Fan. Gu Fan looked at Xia Xian with concern and said, you seem to have lost weight. Is it hard working at the zoo? I heard that you've become a star zookeeper at the zoo. There's a saying, men are afraid of being famous. It's better to keep a low profile. Xia Xian could not help but laugh and cry. She could not believe that her mother compared her to a pig. Although Xia Xian did not have the desire to become a celebrity, her increased popularity did bring her some benefits. Netizens' affinity towards her skyrocketed, and now she could afford many things in the beast language system's shop. Look at what you're saying. This shows that our Xian is so outstanding, shining at the zoo, and gaining the admiration and praise of netizens. Isn't that a good thing? How many people in their lifetime want to be famous but never get the chance? Our Xian is now so prominent, which will give her an advantage in choosing a boyfriend in the future. Xia Song retorted to Gu Fan's words. Hearing Xia Song going off on a tangent, Xia Xian quickly changed the topic. Dad, are we going to Grandma's house for lunch? Yes, we'll go over for lunch and stay overnight at their place, said Xia Song. What about Lael? Gu Fan asked as she patted Lael's head. She had already heard that Lael had its tongue cut by a bad person. She felt sympathy for Lael and, in addition, as Lael was like their precious daughter's dog, she had already considered Lael a member of the family. We can leave Lael in the garage at Xia Bai's house, just don't let mother see it, said Xia Song. After discussing these matters, Xia Xian and her family went to the mall to buy some supplements for old Mrs. Xia. They took the subway and then a taxi, arriving at Xia Bai's house before noon. When old Mrs. Xia saw Xia Song, her eldest son, she was quite happy and chatted with him for a long time. Gu Fan also kept busy and went to the kitchen to help with cooking. At noon, as the meal was almost ready, Xia Bai knocked on a door. After a few minutes, a teenager wearing pajamas with messy hair pushed the door open and walked out. That was Xia Bai's son, Xia Jin, who had just started his first year of high school. He was not tall, but he weighed 75 kilograms. It was almost 1 p.m. by now, and Xia Jin had just woken up. After leaving his room, he did not even greet Xia Song and Xia Xian, nor did he look at them. He lazily went to the bathroom to wash up. Xia Song frowned and asked displeasedly, "Why did Jin just wake up?"